vivacious session of table topics. Congratulations. All right, now I'll tell you, Laurel didn't give me anything. I don't know what the heck this is about. She hasn't told me. She didn't even give me a title. And well, I know she's been around for a while. I don't know whether she's a DTM or not. She hasn't told me that. So who knows? And Madam Timer, I don't know how long to tell you. It might be 10 minutes, might be 5 minutes, might be 20 minutes. It is going to be as long as she keeps speaking. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Laurel Wingert with whatever.
How many of you, raise your hands, would really have liked to have known what I'm going to talk about? How long it's going to be? Maybe a little bit of an introduction, just something to tell you what I'm going to do, why you're here, how long you're going to be forced to sit there and listen to me. How many of you? Come on, raise your hands. Okay, you know what we are going to talk about today? Today we are going to talk about why introductions are so important. And I think I just proved with the Toastmasters' help how important an introduction really is. I'm going to go through with you today on the introductions. I just have to make sure that I can get this moving. I'm going to talk about the introductions and how important they are. I'm going to give you some tips. It's going to be great. Why do we need to do an introduction? Well, we need that smooth transition. We need that transition from the Toastmaster to the speaker, me. If you don't know what's happening, or she could have just got up and said, "Here's Laurel." Well, that's not smooth at all. At least she made it a little smooth by having a semblance of an introduction. The next thing that is important about an introduction is the proper mindset. Had you been given the introduction and being told that I was going to give you some tips and tricks on introductions, oh, that's what we're going to talk about. In Toastmasters, we have different projects that we do, and in some cases, we might have to have a scenario. I want to share with you one time when I did a read out loud in the old legacy program. I got the Toastmaster to say, you're sitting all around a fire and it's late at night and you're teenagers, and Laurel is going to read you a story. And I read a scary story. Well, we set the tone, we set the mindset. There's a project, negotiate the best outcome. You might not have a real life scenario, but you might want to come up with a pretend scenario where you can get people to do it. That's what you as a speaker want to do, is set the tone of your speech. Also, the speaker authority is huge. For her to even say, I don't know, she's a DTM. Well, of course, Laurel Wingert, a distinguished Toastmaster, she's been a Toastmaster 10 years, sets the stage as to why I might be a somewhat of at least a little bit of an authority on introductions. So that is very important. The general essentials for introducing any speech is the person's name, Laurel Wingert, DTM, what she's talking about, importance of introductions, her speech title, introductions, why. Bare bones of what you might need in an introduction. And I think that I got those out of order. Speech assignment. So Toastmaster essentials, in Toastmasters, we have to add that extra level. We want to know what Pathways project you're on, the speech assignment, the objectives, and how much time? Yeah, that's what we want to know. here's an introduction here. And I know it's a hard screen to read, but wouldn't it have been better if Kathy would have said, "Good day, thank you for being here. Today we are pleased to welcome Laurel Wingert, Distinguished Toastmaster, our very own Vice President of Education. Laurel has been a Toastmaster for 10 years. She received and went on my credentials." And then what you want to do then is she will be sharing with you the importance of introductions inside and outside Toastmasters. And then you release the speaker. With that, I ask that you give your full attention to Laurel with her speech introductions. Why? That's an example, and I will be sharing that in the chat later on, so you can use it yourself to build an introduction for your speeches. Now, what are the responsibilities of a speaker? Well, the Toastmaster might want to reach out to you to find out a little bit of something about your speech, so they know how to introduce you. You need to be available. Also, inform the introducer of any special considerations. Yes, Kathy and I had long chats about this. She knew exactly what I was going to do. She knew not to introduce me. I let her know of the special introductions. And by the way, I even let the timer know in the chat what to do, because those are two important people that might need to know what's going on. That's what the speaker's responsibility is. I am also a firm believer that it's a speaker's responsibility to come up with their own introduction, because you know what you want to say. And I'm going to tell you that in Toastmasters, you speak for 5 to 7 minutes. If 1 minute of that is to introduce your speech is now 6 to 8 minutes. And if you will go over time. When you are drafting your introduction, and the Toastmaster can draft it for the speaker if they reach out and want to know, but as I said, I believe it should be the speaker doing it. Both of them, think of the approach. How would you like to be introduced? Think about the length of the introduction. 35 to 45 seconds is long enough. How many words is that? Yes, about 75 words. Delivery time, very important. Give timing instructions and any other clarifications that you want to be give on your speech. That's very important for you to put that introduction together. There's some really big no-nos or don'ts, or try not to, or refrain from when you are introducing the speaker. Please do not upstage the speaker. They are the main event. You are introducing them. Don't reveal any speech details. Had Kathy said, Laurel's talking about introductions and I'm supposed to give this crazy introduction, well, she'd be revealing my speech details. Also, don't praise the speaker's skills. Don't talk about how great they are. That's not important. What's important is their relevance and what they are and their credibility. Rely on cliches. Oh, cliches. Okay. Without further ado, at the end of the day, this speaker needs no introductions. Those are trite, overused cliches that everyone uses. And if somebody uses a cliche, don't you get annoyed? It also takes up valuable time, very valuable time in the introduction. And don't save the speaker's name till last. Start off, we have Laurel Wingert here, and then introduce Laurel Wingert at the end. Very important if you are introducing to refrain from doing these things. Let's just talk about lectern screen etiquette, because now we have both, right? In the olden days, pre-COVID, we'd be live in a room and we reach the lectern and we shake hands. And what that shaking hands is it's transferring control. The Toastmasters up there, they have control of the meeting. When you shake hands, you're transferring the control. Now it's the speaker's turn. When the Toastmaster leaves, leave from behind the speaker. Don't cross the speaker, because now you are giving them control and stepping behind. That's lectern etiquette. On Zoom, we don't really have an etiquette. I like to say the screen is yours, back to you, but there's got to be some way that you can do to send it back to that person. Remember that now you're transferring control. We can't physically shake hands, but back to you. It now belongs to so-and-so. Another thing that you do with the lectern etiquette is make sure you speak to the people. Look at them. Act like you're interested, even if you're not. And make sure that you do all of that. I put down my thing. So in the introductions, you're introducing them, and that's just the beginning of your job as an introducer. At the end, it's a good idea to summarize or bridge. Now, I just want to take you back to Lynn's table topic session. And she did an excellent job of what I call summarizing, because she brought in some good points. She said some things. This is what maybe people learned about. Just bridge, bring in a little bit of the information that you learned from this speech that you were listening to, and wrap it up, and then thank the speaker for what they have done. Remember that that is just as important as introducing the speaker. Introductions are a transferable skill. It's something that we learn in Toastmasters that really look good in the real world. I once heard an excellent introduction. I would say it was probably the best introduction I have ever heard. It was Toastmaster related, but it wasn't in a meeting. And it's when Lynette Zotzman introduced Bob Huey when he came to Regina and spoke to us Toastmasters. If I had a video recording of that and I could show you, I would say that's the best introduction I have ever seen in my entire life. So remember, learning how to introduce is a good skill to learn, because you never know when you're asked to chair an event at work and you need to introduce somebody. I also want to share a story with you about one time at work when I was the Toastmaster and I was introducing the CEO to give a speech, and he came up and I shook his hand, and then he left, and everybody looked like around like I was like gone crazy. Afterwards, I did explain to people what the purpose of that was, and it made people believe, hey, yeah, that's right. That's a good idea. If you want to take anything away from this, just remember that it's important to write an introduction. It's important to have that smooth transition, and in your introduction, show that you're credible. And remember, a good speech has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the best example is, I love you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster. If I can stop this.